Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this final reflection. Today, we come to the seventh and last word from the cross. In Luke 23:46 says, Jesus called out with a loud voice, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. When he had said this, he breathed his last. The final saying is full of peace, trust, and surrender. Jesus has suffered deeply. He has borne the weight of the cross. He has prayed for his enemies, saved the repentant thief, cared for his mother, cried out in anguish, expressed his thirst, and declared the work finished. Now, with his final word, he entrusts himself to the Father. This saying comes from Psalms 31, which means once again, Jesus dies with scripture on his lips. Even in death, he is living in perfect obedience and trust. That alone is beautiful. But there is something else especially powerful here. Jesus begins this last word with Father. That means that even at the end, he rests in the relationship he has always known. He does not die in panic. He does not die in despair. He dies in trust. That is important because death is often associated with fear, uncertainty, and loss of control. People do not know what the final moment will feel like. People fear the unknown. But Jesus transforms the meaning of death for those who belong to him. He shows that death for the believer is not ultimately falling into chaos. It is being placed into the hands of the Father. And let me give a simple example. A small child may not understand everything happening around them. But if that child is safely in the arms of a loving parent, there is peace. The child may not know all the details, but knows who is holding them. In a far deeper and holier way, Jesus commits himself into the Father's hands. Another example, sometimes in life, people go through seasons where they must surrender control. They may not know what comes next. A diagnosis may change everything. A door may close unexpectedly. A long season of waiting may stretch the heart. In those moments, trust becomes very real. The seventh word from the cross teaches us what true surrender looks like. It is not passive resignation. It is active trust in the Father. This word also reminds us that Jesus' death was voluntary. He is not overtaken unwillingly. He consciously gives himself. He yields his spirit. He entrusts himself fully to the Father's care. That shows the perfection of his obedience. So, what does it mean to us? First, it teaches us how to live. The Christian life is a life of trust, not only at death, but every day. We are called to place ourselves in the Father's hand. Second, it teaches us how to suffer. Suffering does not always make sense, but even in suffering, we may trust God. Third, it gives believers hope in the face of death because Christ entrusted himself to the Father. Those who belong to Christ may face death with confidence, knowing they too are in the hands of God. And maybe one final application is for those who feel deeply uncertain right now. Maybe you do not know what the next chapter of life looks like. Maybe you are carrying anxiety about the future. Maybe you are trying hard to control everything because you are afraid of what will happen if you let go. The seventh word from the cross invites you into trust. The Father's hands are faithful hands. So, as we close this final meditation, let us remember this. The last word of Jesus from the cross is not fear, it is trust, not despair, but surrender, not defeat, but peace. And because Christ has gone before us, we too may live and one day die, resting in the faithful hands of the Father.